Hi everyone, good evening to all of you. Welcome to IMTS. Hope all of you are doing good. Hope all of you have a great day today. I am fine, Prabha. Thank you. How are you doing? Manachin, very good evening, boss. How are you? Rashid, good evening, sir. How are you doing? How was your day? I am fine, sir. Manachin, sir. Thank you. Mr. Nixon, good evening. How are you doing? All is well. Okay. Nice to hear that. Sorry. Okay. Tijo, good evening. Can you hear me? Mr. Tijo. Mr. Jacob, can you hear me? Mr. Jacob, no response. Jacob and Tijo, can both of you hear me? Sanobar, good evening. Okay, great. So welcome to IMTS and thank you for attending the class. I am doing good. Thank you for asking, Tijo. Jacob, very good evening. How are you doing? How was your day? How was everyone's Eid? Have all of you enjoyed your Eid? Okay, great. So nice to hear that, Jacob. Okay, Seher and Sanobar and Rashid. How was your Eid? All three of you? 5 days holiday. Great. Okay. Okay. Rashid, you must have enjoyed with your friends. Okay. Why is this Eid celebrated and why is the what to say culture of cutting goats, male goats? Why is it so? Can anyone explain me? Suvit and Rezi, good evening. How are you, sir? Mr. Rezi, good evening. How are you, sir? How was your day? Mr. Suvit Lal, good evening. How are you, sir? Okay, great. So welcome to IMTS and thank you for attending the class. I am doing good, Rezi. I am absolutely fine. Thank you. Good evening, Suvit. How are you? Welcome to IMTS and thank you for coming to the class. No one has answered my question. Why is the Eid celebrated? Right, reason of celebrating Eid ul Adha. The celebration of Eid ul Adha commemorates the willingness of Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, to sacrifice his son Ismail as an act of obedience to Allah and mercy in putting a lamb in Ismail be upon place at the last moment. This is one prophet named Essay. Okay. Okay. The purpose of sacrificing is narrated as follows in Quran in Surah Al-Jumu'ah 37. Their meat will not reach Allah nor will their blood, but what reaches him is pity from you. Thus we subjected them to you that you may glorify Allah for that which He has guided you, and It's okay. It's okay. Okay, Sanobar, I understand it now. Some nice explanation. Sanobar and yeah, Sanobar always. Okay. Okay. So let's start with the class without wasting much time. I think most of you has joined. I hope my voice is clear to everyone, to each one of you. Crystal clear. Okay, so yesterday we were doing the Companies Act. Companies Act. So Companies Act of India. We generally have two types of act. Not two types. One is the Companies Act of 1956. The other one which was redefined by the government in 2013. So yesterday we were discussing about the Companies Act of 1956. Let's continue with this topic. Does anyone has any questions to ask of the things we have covered yesterday? Prabhas is clear, okay? Yeah. So we have discussed till here about the types of companies. Right, so let's proceed with slide number 10. Sorry. On the basis of incorporation, so we have various types of companies, so let's quickly go through them again. One is a statutory companies. I told you yesterday the companies which works for the welfare of the peoples, like the RBI, Reserve Bank of India, or the Food Corporation of India, or the LIC, Life Insurance Corporation. These are the companies which are created by a special act of the legislature. Example, RBI, that is Reserve Bank of India. I hope everyone is familiar with RBI. RBI is the body which governs all the private and the government banks in India. Right. So next is SBI, State Bank of India, then LIC, Life Insurance Corporation, etc. So such type of organizations comes under statutory companies. These are mostly concerned with public utilities as railways, tramways, gas and electricity companies and enterprises of national level importance. So the companies who are involved in the business of things which is related to common man on daily basis, right? Like gas, electricity, railways. All these companies or bodies is termed as statutory companies. Indian Railways is also a statutory company. Then we have registered companies. The companies which are registered and under the Companies Act 1956 or any no only this act. These are the companies which are formed and registered under the Companies Act of 1956. Here everyone, both these two type of companies, statutory companies and registered companies. Companies with limited liability. I already discussed these things yesterday, but I am just going through it again. Limited by shares, where the liability of the members of a company is limited to the amount unpaid on the shares. It is known as company limited by shares. The shares are fully paid. The liability of the members holding such share is nil. It may be a public or a private company. I gave you one example yesterday that if anyone has invested $10,000 in a company and if the company goes into loss, then that person will only be responsible for the loss of those $10,000. He will not be responsible for the money invested by uh, other shareholders, right? So I told you yesterday. Okay, limited by a guarantee, where the liability of the members of a company is limited to a fixed amount which the members undertake to contribute to the assets of a company in the event of being wound up. The company is called company limited by a guarantee. These companies are not formed for the purpose of profit, but for the promotion of art, science, charity, sports, or for some similar purpose. They may or may not have a share capital. Can all of you give me an example of such type of company? All the charitable trusts comes under such type. Yes, yes. So I found this article, so it's good if we read together about them. Yeah. Companies limited by guarantee are widely used for charities, community projects, clubs, societies, and other similar bodies. Most guarantee companies are not-for-profit companies, that is, they do not distribute their profits to their members, but either retain them within the company or use them for some other purpose. Most such companies need their articles to be drafted for that particular organization, and this is the main specialized work to be undertaken. Community companies CIC at registered such companies, and their website gives much more details. Why we use a guarantee company? The main reason for a charity, community project, etc. to be a company limited by a guarantee is to protect the people running the company from personal liability for the company's debts, such as a business may be set up as a company limited by shares for the same reason. Sometimes funding bodies such as local authorities insist on an organization being registered as a company limited by guarantee. Now, with such a company, the profit which the company will make, none of the shareholders or any person in the higher management can use that money for their own personal purpose, right? Or cannot use that money for buying any assets like or making another company. That money will be regulated for some other welfare work. Like Being Human. Being Human is a charitable trust run by Mr. Salman Khan. I hope most of you are familiar with, have heard this name, Being Human, right? It is also comes under this limited charitable trust. Okay. Next is on the basis of the number of members. Let's take a look at this example. A company which has a minimum paid up capital of rupees 1 lakh or such higher paid up capital as may be prescribed and by its articles. Number A. Number 1, restricts the right to transfer its shares if any. Limits the number of its members to 50. C. Prohibits any invitation to the public to subscribe for any shares in or debentures of the company. prohibits any invitation or acceptance of deposits from persons other than its members, directors. Unlimited liability, spelling is wrong, Nixon. Liability definition. Yeah, I'm coming to that. First, let's finish this. Prohibits any invitation or acceptance of deposits from persons other than its members, directors, or their relatives. Now, in such companies, only the members can invest in that company. No other outsiders can invest. Now, this is about the private company. What are private companies and what terms and conditions that they set? Clear, everyone? Okay. Now, someone has asked about unlimited liability company. So its definition is this. Yeah. This is the definition of unliability. Unlimited liability company. Private firms such as sole proprietorship or general partnership whose owners, partners or stockholders accept personal and unlimited liability for its debts and obligations in return for avoiding double taxation of a limited company. Unlimited liability firms are exempt from filing their annual accounts with a public authority, such as registrar of the companies, unless they are subsidiaries of limited liability holding companies, also called unlimited company. Clear? Okay. So about a private company, there are so many private companies. Airtel, Idea, all these are private companies. Okay, excuse me for a second. I will be back in a minute. Okay, Till the time all of you read this about this public company. Okay, I'm back. Can all of you give me an example of a public company? So, L&T, Larsen and Toubro, okay, DHEL, ONGC, so many. A public company means a company which has a minimum paid up capital of rupees 5 lakh or such higher paid up capital as may be prescribed. Is a private company which is a subsidiary of a company which is not a private company. So a public company can also be a private company, but it should be a sister company of the main company, which should be a public company. Every public company existing on the commencement of the Companies Act 2000 with a paid up capital of less than 5 lakh within a period of 2 years from such commencement enhance its paid up capital to 5 lakhs. So they have to have a minimum of 5 lakhs of capital, of money with them. Only then they can be registered under a public company. Next is on the basis of control. So we have a holding companies. A company is known as the holding company of another company if it has the control over that other company. A company is deemed to be the holding company of another if, but only if, that other is its subsidiary. Clear? Okay. We can say a holding company is a company or a firm that owns other companies' stocks or shares. I'm doing good. Can you, any one of you give me an example of a holding company? Like group of companies, parents and sister companies. Yes. Okay. 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 Uh, can you name some companies in UAE? Since most of you are living in UAE. Kingdom Holding Al Sutem Group. Okay. Okay, yeah, correct. Next is subsidiary company. A company is known as a subsidiary of another company when control is exercised by the holding company over the former called a subsidiary company. Now the all the decisions or the decisions, major decisions which will be taken in a subsidiary company will be done by the holding companies. That is what they are trying to say. One second. All of you can go through this website later on, not now. And then here you can find the controls, the major controls which are being holded by the holding companies of the subsidiary company. Right. So here they are clearly mentioned with examples of the major powers the holding companies hold of the subsidiary companies. So very good. Right. Anyways, let's proceed. Clear everyone? Any doubts? Then we have on the basis of the ownership, government company. A government company means any company in which not less than 51% of the paid up share capital is held by the central government or any state government, or partly by central government and partly by one or more state government. so the so the state, all of you hear in news so many times that government has decided to sell 15% stake in X company, 20% stake in Y company, right? So the government in PSUs, government companies, the government should have a minimum share of 51%, not less than that. Only then it will be or comes under the category of government companies, and they have the right to sell those shares, but it should not be less than 51%. Like these days in India, there is a news that government has decided to sell some stakes of Coal India to has to some private players. Coal India is the largest producer of coals in India and provides coals to lots of companies which produces electricity. Foreign company. It means any company incorporated outside India which has an established place of business in India. All the MNCs which has their offices in India, right? They have their headquarters in some other country, but have their offices in India, like Microsoft, Google's, Yahoo's, right? Where a minimum of 50% of the paid up share capital of a foreign company is held by one or more citizens of India and by one or more bodies incorporated in India, whether singly or jointly. Such company shall comply with such provisions and may be described as if it were an Indian company. So a foreign company can only have their offices in India only if the 50% of the share of the company, of the profit of the company in India should be owned by an Indian. Then only. That is what they are saying over here. Here everyone, there are so many companies, Facebook, Yahoo, Google, so many companies. So this is about the Companies Act of 1956. Now let's come to the Companies Act of 2013. Which was upgraded by the government. Now let's see some of the key highlights of the Companies Act of 2013. It was passed in the Lok Sabha on 18th December 2012. This is the bill number. It was passed on 8th August 2013 in the Rajya Sabha, and the President of India approved it on 29th August 2013, and then it becomes the Act. Now let's see what all things in this Act has. The Act has 470 clauses and 7 schedules as against 658 sections and 15 schedules in the existing Companies Act 1956. So in the previous Act we have 658 clauses, here we have only 470. In the previous one we have 15 schedules, here we have only 7 schedules. The entire Act has been divided into 29 chapters. Following chapters have been introduced. These are the new chapters which are not present in the previous Act of 1956. Registered valuers, which is in chapter 17, government companies, which comes in chapter 23, then companies to furnish information or statistics in chapter 25, nidhis in chapter 26, national company law tribunal and appellate tribunal in chapter 27, and then special courts in chapter 28. So these are the chapters which are introduced in this new Act. Baba, I did not get your question. What do you mean by 51/49 share? The maximum number of members which a private companies can have is increased from 50 as provided in the Companies Act 1956 to 200. So they have increased the number of members in the Private Company Act from 50 to 200. Some of the major new definitions introduced are associate company, small company, employee stock option, promoter, related party, turnovers, CEO, that is the Chief Executive Officer, CFO, that is the Chief Financial Officer, Global Depository Receipt, and then the scope of officer under default has been broadened. So all these things have been included. Let's see in chapter 2 what they have introduced. The concept of one person company has been introduced. So now a person with a single name, only a single person can also open the company. The concept of one person company has been introduced, and the said company will be formed as a private limited company. This will be called as OPC Limited. Right? Small companies have been defined by fixing maximum paid up share capitals not exceeding rupees 50 lakh, and such companies will be required to follow less regulatory provisions. So those companies who have a capital less than 50 lakhs will come under the category of small companies, and such companies will have less rules and regulations to follow. In the memorandum of association of the company, there is no requirement as to bifurcation of the objects clause into main, ancillary and other objects. So these are some of the changes which are done in chapter 2. Let's see chapter 3. The Act governs the issue of not only shares but all types of securities. Companies may now issue global depository receipt by passing the special resolution and subject to conditions as may be prescribed. So the companies have the right to issue the global depository receipt, which is applicable all over the world for that particular company as a proof in document form. The content to be prescribed, the prospectus has been made more detailed. These are some of the changes that are in chapter 3. Chapter 4. Conditions for voting rights to preference shareholders has been changed. Now preference shareholders can vote on all resolutions placed before the company when dividends payable in respect of a class of preference shares in arrears for a period of 2 years or more. Company cannot issue shares at discount Other than a sweat equity, no provision has been provided for any approval. So the company cannot provide the share of their company on discounts. That is not eligible. A company may issue preference sorry. A company may okay, sure, Rashid. No problem. You can go through the recording later on. You can go through the recording. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for attending the class. A company may a company may issue preference shares redeemable after 20 years for such infrastructure project as may be specified subject to redemption of specified percent of preference shares on annual basis at the option of the preference shareholder. Now, in the last point, it has been decided that any company can only uh, convert their percentage of shares into cash only after 20 years, from which they can buy other infrastructure for their other projects, or they can use that money anywhere, but only after 20 years, not before that. Chapter 5, Audits and Auditors. Listed companies shall not appoint or reappoint chartered accountant, an audit firm as auditor for more than 10 consecutive years, an individual as auditor for more than 5 consecutive years. Now, all the companies once in a year have to go through these audits. Audits are done by the chartered accountant firms, right? And any audit firm cannot audit a firm for more than a period of 10 years, or any individual cannot do the audit of the same company for the 6 years. He can do it for 5 years. Sorry, he can do it for 4 years, but not for the 5 years continuously. Above auditor shall not be eligible for reappointment for the next 5 years. Every listed company shall form an audit committee. There have to be an audit committee in all the listed companies. I hope all of you understand this term, listed company. The companies which are listed for their shares to be bought and sold in the share market. Those are called listed companies. The audit committee shall consist of a minimum of 3 directors, with independent directors forming majority, provided that majority of members, including the chairperson, shall be persons with ability to read and understand the financial standards. Okay. Next is secretarial standards in chapter 6. For the first time, the secretarial standard has been introduced and provided statutory recognition. According to the clause 11810, it says, every company shall observe secretarial standards with general and board meetings specified by ICSI. ICSI is a recognized body for appointing secretaries. Clause 205 casts duty of the company secretary to ensure that the company complies with applicable secretarial standards. So each company should have a company secretary. Company secretary is a post. It is the beginning of a new era where non-financial standards have been given importance, statutory recognition besides financial standards. Clear, everyone? I know it's sounding a bit boring, but this topic is like that only. Nothing much to explain in this, right? It's just for the knowledge. Right, so we can stop the class here today. I think this much is sufficient for this topic. These are some of the highlights of the Companies Act of 2013. Any questions for me? Okay, so thank you very much. Take care. Bye bye. Good night, all of you.